Welcome to the Australian Weight Loss Surgery Podcast, where every 2 weeks we explore all the aspects of the weight loss surgery journey. You'll hear from a range of experts including bariatric surgeons, psychologists, patients and dietitians sharing up-to-date informative advice to help fast-track your long-term weight loss success.
Welcome to the Australian Weight Loss Surgery Podcast. My name's Jacqui Lewis, and today I have the pleasure of Debbie Wullschleger's company. Debbie, welcome. How are you?
Thank you very much. Very good. Thanks for having me today.
I'm pleased to have you here. I'm going to go just in a little bit into your introduction so we know your background and why I have you on the show, because I think that's always a good start, and I've jumped the gun once again. So welcome to Debbie, who's a trained teacher from Switzerland, moved to Australia in 2005. Built a business as a professional organizer, which I need to talk to you about, studied and qualified as a master level in transformational and behavioural life coaching over 3 years, also trained in NLP or Neurolinguistic Programming, is a certified family counsellor and has specialised in bariatric counselling through the American Association of Bariatric Counsellors, and now has her own business called Bariatric Consultancy and is also a bariatric patient. So I think we'll find that there's an interweaving of Debbie's story as well as her specialty. So that's why I think it'd be great to explore firstly your understanding of the world as well as what's led you into being head of the bariatric consultancy. So very warm welcome to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you too. Thanks so much.
So let's get started. Tell me a little bit about your own story and why you're in bariatric business today.
Yeah, well, actually, there is a reason why I brought that organizing business in. You will see in my story. But my story really starts way back before I actually was even born, because I was meant to be aborted. And then my birth mom decided to give me up for adoption. And that was all good. And I'm very thankful for that. So I never knew really my history of my family, my genetic history. That was then quite interesting when I finally was able to meet my family in my beginning of my 30s. And all along the way, I suffered with overweight. I was always the chubbier one. I just couldn't get it under control. And I was also very bullied, especially in my teenage years, as maybe many of us were. And it was a hard time. And the addressing of my adoptive parents, very loving and caring, but it was all sorted on restricting food, more exercise, you should not, you are not allowed, you can't, all the forbidden things, which then triggered me to even do it more so, to take control over my own eating, which I know now it was taking over control of this strict upbringing. And then when I finally met some of my birth family, I opened my eyes, and it is a big topic in this family, overweight. Pretty much everyone is severely obese, which then for me made me breathe a little bit more. It didn't really solve the problem, but it made it clear, okay, it's not all on my side. It's not all my fault. There are genetics in play that I just can't change. And that was really interesting. And then, and having 4 children myself didn't really help with not gaining more weight between all these pregnancies, unfortunately. Yes. And then we came to Australia in 2005 I had a band put in, I think 2000 in Switzerland. That was one of the almost first ones in Switzerland that had a band. And as many of us encounter, it's just not working properly. I didn't lose much weight, gained it all back, and then had it out of complications, and had then a gastric sleeve done in 2014, and since have lost around 50 kilos. And thank you. Very happy where I am. Still not on this so-called goal weight, but I actually tend to steer away from that, because it's not about a number. It's more so about really, how do you feel? Are you healthy? Are you still on medications that could be reduced by losing more weight? All these aspects. Where I am today as a bariatric counselor, that's where my organizing business comes in. I went into people's homes during that time and decluttered all of the stuff, I call it, that was accumulating in the home. And what happened though, the first thing when when I stepped into those people's homes was I heard this big emotional story about the history of why they are here, where they are right now, why all the clutter accumulated, why all this is what it is and they can't solve it. And that really made me think, wow, it's so true. Taking that even on our life journey in weight loss, whatever we store emotionally, mentally, it clutters up within us, and we try to surface solution. We try to declutter, we throw things out. But a week later, the house, or 2 weeks later, I go back and the kitchen looked the same mess again. And I'm saying that without judgment. That is just fact. Why? Because people have not addressed the underlying issues, the hurt, the pain, the feelings that come to store things. And I really, really feel that's exactly the same with our weight. I say these days, the fat we accumulate on our body is our security blanket. It's our safe space. We hide, even though no one would consciously know this or say this, but we know that this is our safe spot. And as long as we don't address the underlying issues, it is very, very hard to lose weight. And weight loss for me is not a willpower thing. It is a mindset thing.
Totally agree. And all the willpower in the world. I mean, I think if it was willpower, we'd all be skinny, fit little things, wouldn't we? Because we'd just will it.
Will it? That's
keep
good,
on
yes.
happening. And you can have a look at society and say, well, that's not it. So yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head with looking at, and this is also a vein I run through a lot of my podcasts, because I really think this is where it's at, is getting underneath and introspecting enough to look at where this, safety is required and how to heal that part. That it's not often just one part. That's why we call it a journey. So you specialize with working with people after they've had their surgery. So tell me a bit more about that. Why is that working well for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have really found that there is really a gap in the whole support system after surgery. We tend to be able to research a lot before about the surgery, about complications and benefits, and that's all very necessary and good. And then we are hyped up for this surgery, and often we forget that the surgery is only just one tool in the big picture. It's not magically solving all our other problems. And for example, if we are an emotional eater or boredom eater, or eat when we are anxious and put then food in our body to soothe our emotions and feelings for a short time, well, that is not just going away because of the surgery. And that's where I feel and really see the benefit of the work I do, is supporting people on the long-term journey. Yeah, I call it like the honeymoon phase is over at some point, so 6 months, 10 months, 15 months down the track. And what then when all those old habits come back in? And that's where the mindset is, best addressed and changed and worked on.
The research is even showing that now, that it's that 2-year mark where generally carbs have come back in, habits are starting to reform.
Yeah.
Hunger is driving it, because in the first kind of 12 to 18 months, you can, not always, but generally hunger is addressed by the surgery, but it's not forever. So it's, as you can set up as many meal plans and portion sizes as you like, but if you've still got that underlying drive for the safety or the comfort or the stress or the, whatever it is, reward, that's certainly going to return. And sometimes it's pretty fierce as well, isn't it, if it's not dealt with?
And as I shared my story, and I believe many of us have situations that go way back into childhood, that could be a big trauma event, but it can be also little subtle things like words that we constantly have heard, you're not good enough, you cannot achieve that, you will be always the fat girl, or you're just a bit chubbier than others. These are sentences that actually really stick deep in our subconscious mind and can hold us back and block us from achieving and building our dream life and purposeful lifestyle all the way up to being 40, 50 years old. And that's very sad that it is the fact, and that we had to hear those things and have to deal with them now in our adult life.
That's so true. And I think it's those early formative years where our bodies or our brains are just absorbing what people are saying, and we're not challenging it. We just, the brain just lets those thoughts and those sentences fall in and stay there, and they become our narrator. So often when I'm hearing people who have got this narration in their head, I'll ask them to think about, what's being said, what's the inner dialogue, and whose voice is that? Like, who said that? Because a lot of people own it as their own narration.
Absolutely, yeah.
However, you need to listen to who said that, and then you can work back from there, I think, to, okay, so they said that. Were they talking to me even? So because as a child, we make everything about, it's just the ego state, isn't it?
Yep.
We make everything about us. So we drink those sentences in like they are about us, and they might be just, you've overheard the tail end of a conversation that wasn't even about you, but it now is running your life. So it's always good to have a think about, when you're stressed or when you're eating or when you're, anxious or upset, it's like, what am I saying to myself, and whose words are those? Because it gives you the power to then have a look at it from a more objective perspective and make a decision on whether that serves you or not anymore. It sounds very simple.
Oh yeah, if it would
sometimes
be.
It's not that simple.
No, and it's really going deep into, and look, when I work with my clients, we often start, so what do you eat? What's your food problems? And we literally stay there for about 10 minutes. And then we immediately get into the deeper level of talking about your self-worth, your beliefs. What do you believe about yourself? What do you tell yourself on a daily basis? Do you tell yourself, I can't, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable? And if you keep telling yourself those thoughts, that inner self-critic chatter that's there, well, it's even harder to create change. And really, again, I come back to the food. It's what the diet industry does. They surface solution with food and with restriction and this and calories and weighing, and you can't and you shouldn't. More exercise, do more of this. Yes, it's a part of it. I strongly believe the real work to change our bodies on the outside starts in the inside.
Because all the exercise and portion sizes in the world, yes, they are a part of it, but unless you've got this saboteur out of the way, you're never going to be able to roll that out on a consistent basis that it's going to stick and then be fruitful for you. So you're right. It's looking at it from, I always talk about the surgery as being kind of one component of about 100 different things that lead you to that morbidly obese state. So it's peeling back those. I always talk about things being like the layers of an onion and just having a look. And it's a continual process. I don't think we ever get to the point where we're done.
No.
Just when you think you're done.
It's that mindset.
Sometimes you're not.
Yeah, it's that mindset of continuous development, continuous creating I call it a purposeful lifestyle. In my work, I talk about purposeful eating, but I would like to expand that to purposeful lifestyle. What does that include? Talking exercise, for many of us, we just don't like doing it. We can't doing it because we have joint problems or any other health issues. But then we can move. What does that mean? For example, I say this, moving, going for a 15-minute walk, to just be doing your housework in a bit more active way. All that is movement that actually helps on the journey, for example. So that purposeful lifestyle includes so many facets.
Yes.
And we have the power to create it, definitely.
And so tell me just a little bit about that as far as you've been, you've obviously been through the journey. You had your surgery quite a few years ago now. How did it roll out for you in this way? Like, what were the certain, I guess, larger stones you had to turn over to get to the place that you've landed at this point where you can share this with everybody else as well?
Well, first of all, the surgery took one part away of the overeating, of the snacking. My downfall is chocolate. Coming from Switzerland, I guess. I have a bit of an excuse there. No, I don't.
It's a cultural benefit.
But it's a conscious decision, and that was the work I did through all of my studies and obviously working on myself with a coach. When I get up in the morning, okay, what do I want to achieve today? And maybe it sounds cliche, but it's really true. Sitting for a minute, what's my goals? What's my tasks today? How do I want to live my day? And that then leads me already in a positive mindset of, okay, this needs to be done. And I choose choose to be positive. I choose to focus on myself at some point. I choose to focus on my eating in a way of, okay, what is building on that purposeful lifestyle? And this doesn't work every day. Okay, it's not like the ultimate bulletproof thing, but if we never even start changing those thoughts, and if we never ever start to believe in ourselves and to believe that we actually can do it, and to believe that we have a choice in changing things around, which for me includes letting go, working through the past hurts and even sentences or things that were put on ourselves or we put on ourselves by saying all that negative stuff, we will never get that one step further. But really, look, I'm not the exercising girl. So for me, is a daily walk, a daily... I changed. That's why I brought it up. I really do my housework as a full workout. Yeah. When I bend down, I purposely go with energy down just to burn that 1-2 more calories. Yeah,
and
little things like that.
That's a great place to start, is that incidental. I don't think we have to link exercise with going to the gym and lifting weights. And I think that's kind of that's what we see is, if you're going to exercise, here's what you do is go to the high intensity HIIT classes and that sort of stuff. And we don't realize that doing, a class at the gym or doing some exercise is a great thing to do, but it's the incidental part of the day and the activity that we do by the by that actually is what adds up to more energy being burnt and, kind of a lifestyle result as well. And they're looking at that even from a kind of nervous system perspective, is that incidentally, if we're doing that, 10,000 steps a day, the health benefits are huge based on regulation of the nervous system and that sort of thing. So it doesn't have to be the bouts of exercise that we figure it is. It's just finding movement that we enjoy or bringing life to the movement that we already have to do. And that's where the changes are, is at work, maybe not getting in the lift and taking the stairs. And it's tiny little things. It doesn't feel like much at the time. But when you stack that all up, get off the bus one stop earlier or walk to work or whatever. But those are the parts of, I guess, the implementation of that movement that will really change things as well.
And I would like to add to that, very true what you say, and not only exercise, but coming from a professional organizer point of view, preparation, routine, and organization are key when it comes to our eating. I really like what you said there, these little steps forward. And coming from a professional organizing point, I really know now that routine and structure and organization and planning ahead is key solution to our eating patterns. So if I am hungry and come home and nothing healthy is ready, well, I'm surely going to go and grab the biscuit or the cake or something else. And I tend to advise people. They ask me, especially at the beginning of the journey, and I say, you go back, like, remember when you had little children or grandkids and you prepare them the box with all the little dividers in it. And that's what you prepare your day. You take a box with nuts and maybe an egg and some ham and some cheese and some grapes with you. So you have your little bits to snack. And after the surgery, it's not so much about having a big meal. It's all about those 5 little snack meals, which if I'm prepared and organized, it's much easier and you set yourself up for success.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's that, what do they say? Proper preparation prevents poor performance. I talk about that a lot. And that's also why on our website we have the raft of different boxes and lunch food carrying options. Lots of thermal bits and pieces for the cooler months, and also the bento boxes and that sort of thing. So we know that you need to take food with you everywhere you go. The other thing is that getting protein when you're out and about is quite tricky. So if your goal is to hit your protein needs every day, even if you take that component with you, you're winning, because the minute you step out the door, that kind of stuff is very hard to get as well.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, so you were mentioning habits. Tell me more about how you implement change as far as people's habits go. What's the trick there? I'm all ears.
Well, you see, it's, again, what we all just discussed now is one of the steps of creating new habits. The repetition, that's what creates habits. Often we tend to think, okay, from tomorrow, I'm going on a diet. I'm changing my life. I'm doing everything different. And 3 days later, like the New Year's resolutions, They are gone down the drain again. So creating new habits have different components. First of all, realizing that you have a choice every day. Second of all, to implement little tiny steps on an everyday base, and then sustain them for a certain amount. There was a time they said 21 days. Now they say 66 days.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how long. Just keep doing what you're doing, what works. Find what works for you in little steps. And that's how a new habit is created. You see, our non-serving old eating habits are often created sometime in the past. Picture yourself, you were maybe stressed, or you felt lonely, you felt sad, anxious, anything like that. And you decided at some point, how about I'll eat some cake or some chips? That will make me feel better. Or you achieved reward is also a big thing of eating, and you achieved something and you ate some unhealthy stuff, and you subconsciously realize, after eating that I actually feel much better, maybe I'll do that tomorrow again. And you do that a few times, and that's how your brain created a new habit pathway. And then that sticks to your brain forever if you don't consciously change it again. This is called neuroplasticity. So it's really a process of being aware why we eat, for example. And that's why I do a lot of work with my clients on awareness of trigger work, triggering what is triggering your food intake. Why are you eating? Not so much how much and what calories and all that, but more so why, what's triggering. And then if we can work on the trigger and change that around through neuroplasticity work, which is really creating new habit pathways in our brain, that's then the change that will create new habits for the long term to create that purposeful lifestyle.
That's right. It's the repetition and the creating of those new neural pathways. And I liken that to like when there's water running down a hill and it's finding its different ways down the hill, it'll erode deeply where it runs on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so to change the direction of that water will take a little bit of time, but also the repetition of the water kind of diverging a different way down will carve a new pathway. And that's what generally happens in the brain and can be done. And I think the research into neuroplasticity now is showing more and more just how much our brains can change and adapt. Have we got the right tools? The Neurolinguistic Programming, is that where you go with that?
Yes, definitely. That's where I just wanted to say that's exactly a way of an approach of which we use with techniques to develop that emotional, cognitive and intuitive development in our brain. And actually there are techniques out there, and I'm so stunned about this in neurolinguistic programming, that immediately change can happen when we work with that subconscious mind. And from there, then people are so much more prone to succeed because they have a total different belief about the topic or themselves.
That's incredible. And I think it is that access to unconscious that we really need. And that's where willpower is conscious. So it's just surface really, isn't it? And then unconscious is where it's all at. And they reckon about 90% of our lives are run from unconscious mind.
Yes.
So, and most of those thoughts and beliefs are kind of constructed before we're about 6.
Absolutely.
So quite often there's a toddler running the show. It's like an underage driver, really, isn't it? Just taking off in a vehicle. It's never going to go too well. So that's your work basically also, is accessing that unconscious part of us, that it's not then painful change either. It can be almost like switching on a different, light switch and changing things, which I like that because, not all therapy has to be dragging up the past and living there for a while. I think that's powerful too.
Especially as a coach, I am very, very forward focused. I'm very change focused. That's where you want people to succeed. You want my clients, I want them to really achieve their goals, and which then requires to maybe reset the goals. Sometimes our goals are not set correctly. They don't align with our values and beliefs. And then we were told you need to lose 40 kilos. Well, do you really want that? Is that really your goal, or did just someone tell you should? And that's already the wrong language in our brain that will stop us in it, because it's not set deep in our hearts. That's what I really want. again, that's an example. There are many other components to that. Yeah.
Fascinating. Thank you. So you also talk about purposeful eating. Tell me a little bit more about that strategy. What's involved?
Yes, I have learned so much on my own journey and through my studies, through the whole diets I took on and tried and failed. And what generally the message is in a diet is you are not allowed this, you have to restrict this, you can't do this, you have to, and all those words from a neuralistic point of they
Not
trigger
ideal.
us. No, and they trigger us to do even more so what we shouldn't. From a purposeful eating perspective, I would like to teach and bring the message across, especially after surgery, where one big component of the amount of food is taken care of. What is healthy for me? What does my body good? What is giving me more energy? What do I like to eat? And does that all align with the purpose and the goals I have? Not so much really about you're not allowed. I see a lot of posts in the Facebook groups about, am I allowed? Can I have a cheat day? It's not about a cheat day. It's a lifelong lifestyle change, and that starts in our mind and belief about what we do and how we behave and what we choose on a daily basis. And so I want to really get that message across, especially for our bariatric clients. It's not about dieting, it's not about cheating anymore. It's about learning to choose the good for our body, for nourishing,
and listening, by the sound of things, like listening to your new ideas and values and your hopes and dreams, and aligning that with that inner construct that will lead you down that path. It sounds amazing. And so a cornerstone in your work is supporting people to retrain their brains so they can build up their self-esteem and know that they can do it. Is there a program that comes with this?
Yes. So at the moment, I am offering a 12-week lifestyle program. That is a 12-week weekly coaching, group coaching webinars. And from there, we have a lot of conversation. We have a private group, Facebook group. And it's really a little part of it is me teaching, but also it's all about connecting with others on the same journey in a safe, secure space. And it's all about that habits change, mindset change, purposeful lifestyle. This is what I'm running. And I would like to now in the future start a new group every month. So if you want to go to my website, you find it all there, the information, and it should start every month if I have people signing up. That would be fantastic. And
fantastic.
I have also another program, and I actually wrote a journal, and it's called Keep the Weight Off.
Ooh.
And it's really specially designed for us on the journey of gastric surgery weight loss, addressing the topics of when the honeymoon phase is over and the surgery slows down. Keep the weight off then. How do we do that? And so this is available on Amazon, Keep the Weight Off.
Well done, you. Amazon.
Yeah. And I have and then another program, long-term program I have on available for clients is called Keep the Weight Off.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll include all of that in the show notes so everybody will know where to find you. And then each month, basically, they can jump on board. This one will be August, September, October, November, as long as you like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. I think that's the key is looking at exploring all avenues and making sure we're well supported. So having those groups and that sort of stuff. And I think a lot of what we do in our groups is just try and keep things top of mind. So overall, if you're a Facebook user or an Instagram user, just who you're choosing to have on your feed and which groups you're a part of is certainly always keeping that growth mindset alive and well. And there's always something to learn. Well, it sounds absolutely fantastic. And I think you've totally changed your own life. So there's absolutely no reason why we should, not jump on board and become part of that journey as well. And Debbie's also part of our group in BN Bariatric. So you'll see posts from her from time to time. And you're welcome to find her via all of the details in the show show notes below. So thank you so much for your time today. It's always great to kind of have a look at the other, I guess, the deeper understanding of what creates change for humans. And it's not just weight loss surgery patients overall, it's anyone looking to create change, but you've certainly found a niche. So thank you. I appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'll be reaching out to you for your support in the future.
Well,
Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you, Jacqui, very much for having me and giving me the opportunity to share. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. See you soon. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, and just before you go, we would love to hear your feedback, so please give us a rating and review. For other interesting topics of conversation and inspiration, come and drop into our Facebook community at BN Bariatric. If you've enjoyed our podcast, we hope you will share on your Facebook or Instagram and hit subscribe so you'll never miss an episode.